about it?
Yes.
Okay, everybody wanna bring it in-house. Everybody can be happy. We okay with that? What is the cost? Okay, that's the big question. We can say things to make people happy, and everybody gonna be happy and they're gonna clap. When they start seeing numbers, what the sacrifice is, increase in property taxes and other things, then people are gonna say, oh no. It's two things. We can be responsible and say, okay, it's a good thing to do, but we have a big price to pay. President always gonna be
If
happy.
you don't mind,
And another question, can he propose that we do a month to month? Will they agree with a month to month?
The item before you is to give me the authorization to go and negotiate an extension.
Can you tell mayor and council that the price gonna go up anyway? Even with the extension?
Even with the extension, the price is likely gonna go up.
go negotiate with them and come back to us in 2 weeks,
Well,
month to month, right? Mr. That's your motion. And just remember, Alex,
Yes,
it's
sir.
not going through a divorce, man. Just because you're divorcing doesn't mean you have to stay single. You can get remarried.
What a Alan.
Come on, man. You, can get remarried 2 times, 3 times, 4 times.
Oh, my
Just
God.
keep trying until it
Try
works.
to you get it right.
Come on, man. Can't give
Mr.
up on life
Manager,
like that.
I would put a lot of confidence in you, but you already know where my heart is. I really like. I don't mind whatever we do with waste, but that's one thing. I don't have any issues with that, and I think they know that, and you know that. My thing is in-house, because let's look at the numbers. Let's look at how privatized costs, and let's look at how in-house costs. And I felt that we should have had
can
this
I
before.
make this commitment to you then, sir?
Yes, sir.
Before that RFP comes back in, I will give a report to the council with detail on what in-house
Yeah.
is cost.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And I do,
You have some.
I have some right here. I brought it because I knew it may come up, so I could refer to some stuff, but I need to fine tune 1 or 2 items here. It's a little bit less than I thought, but still not a little number. So
Before October 30th.
Thank you.
absolutely, I could have it. Yeah.
That's when the budget is due, right?
The budget will be
It was
the
extended.
budget will be approved on October 12th. Final.
October 12th. Okay. So we have until the 30th to,
No, it'll enact. Technically, it enacts back to
back to September, October 1st,
1st.
yeah. But we were giving an extension to vote on it because of Irma, to vote in
But
October.
I will definitely.
Okay,
So, Mayor, the only motion I have on the floor right now is a motion made by Councilman Desiree, and that's a motion to continue the contract on a month-to-month basis.
I'll
Mr.
second.
Councilman, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mayor.
I'll second it. Was it seconded yet?
Flexibility. If we approve a month to month right now, he's locked into the
I
month to
see.
month. If we just give him flexibility, he can figure out what he might.
I withdraw my motion then.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve tab I as submitted?
Yes.
What do you mean?
That's
I
a
move
year.
it.
That's a year extension.
No,
This is the-
not a
no,
year.
the-
Up to.
I can end up with 6 months, like you said. I
But,
just need the.
but is this gonna come back to you before you?
Nope.
Is
Nope.
this coming back to us before you do it, or you were just
No.
giving you the authority?
Authorization to negotiate and execute myself and the city attorney. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
While the RFP is out.
While the RFP is out. I can do a report back to the council.
Yeah, can you report back to us before, at least each of us separately, before the next meeting?
Yes, I will. Yes.
Yeah.
I got to report back. I have to have it done by Friday.
So is this item being amended to say that before the final approval?
No,
you have
no,
to-
no. Be
That I will just
stated.
report back to them.
So it's not gonna be amended, it's gonna be as is?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a motion made by Councilman Bienaimé to keep this particular item as is. Do I have a second to approve Councilman Bienaimé's motion?
Second.
I have a second made by Vice Mayor Galvin. Mayor, would you prefer a roll call vote, or?
No,
That's a
no,
resolution.
just yeah, or nay.
I'm talking to the mayor, Councilman.
Oh, sorry.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Okay, item was passed with a 4-1 vote.
Thank you.
Mayor, that concludes our agenda.
Okay, citizens, well, not the agenda. We still have citizens forum. You don't want the public to speak? Now the floor is open for the opportunity to be heard by anyone who wishes to speak. You have 2 minutes each.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Deputy Mayor and Council. I'm a resident of 141 and a property owner of a duplex at the corner of 141 and Northeast Fifth. The area has been, has had a problem in the past with flooding. And I spoke with, based on the recommendation of Representative Benamy, we would like to see if we can have an assessment done whereby we have two sewer, I would call them drain, that are not being used, that are on 141st, up the hill, that are not being used. Now, the drains that you have on 141st and Northeast Fifth, there are 4 drains there, but it's not, I don't think it's deep enough to, I know the Dade County did not turn on the pumps based on what Representative Benamy told us, but we were wondering if those 2 big sewer drains that you have on 141st and that are up the hill closer to Northeast 6, they're not being used. And if they could be moved, those tanks could be moved down to Northeast 5th and 141st to possibly alleviate the water, the buildup of the water. I mean, I understand that you have these 2 drains, and those drains were expanded in the past, but they're not being used. They're just, matter of fact, I mean, based on what Representative Benamy said, that there's a possibility that we could possibly move them if you guys do an assessment and take a look at how this could.
Okay, so you're good with Public Works? And-
Yeah.
and what
we
about-
will
Oh, he's here?
set up a meeting.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Ms.
Good
Ashton?
evening, Mayor and City Council, Jessica Alston, 1140 Northwest 125 Street. You have all tapped yourself on the back saying what a great job you've done with this hurricane preparedness and work, but I rate you with a U, unsatisfactory. Yes, you did prepare for the responders' needs, but for the needs of the citizens of the city, especially on the west side where I'm speaking, where I live, it's been completely unsatisfactory. The map that you showed stating that the completion areas, I live in the area that's stated on the map that the pickup for the bulk trash is completed, and it's not. So that map is inaccurate. You did not provide any shelter for the residents of the West Side. In fact, you were embarrassed by Channel TV to provide a second shelter rather than North Miami Senior High School across the street. You were embarrassed into opening that shelter area. You did not have a special needs shelter. We have a person here, right here, sitting here. I'm not going to mention the name because I don't want to embarrass anyone. Who need electricity to provide for his medical needs. And we were out without electricity, and he didn't have the type of medical needs that he needed. Sitting right here. You did not have a special needs shelter. You prevented me, and I really wanted to ask Mr. Stanford, why? When they got the bulk garbage, why did they leave every other garbage in the middle of the street? In the middle of the street.
I'm sorry, Ms. Alston, I cannot give you more than 2 minutes, because if I do, then I have to do it for
very
everybody else.
unsatisfactory.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Then on the other hand, Bob Pashon, 13005 Coronado Terrace. I'd like to echo Councilman Galvin's comments about the city administration, staff, and police. I thought you guys did a wonderful job making the most of a difficult situation. And the suggestion I'd like to make is after storms, communication's everything. People don't have TVs in some cases, they don't have cell phone service, they don't have, or limited cell phone service or computer connections or the like. I know there are some cities that have a pretty broad text communication system so that people can get text messages to tell them whether there's ice distribution or water distribution or boil water notices or what there is. And I'd like the city to look into that because it seems like text were working when a lot of other forms of communication failed us. Thank you.
Hi, Laura Hill, 13075 Griffin Boulevard. Miami-Dade County has offered an amnesty of 30 days post-Hurricane Irma on code violations issued by the county, just as though it's going to take the city a number of months to completely clean up our public areas. Us residents also have a lot of work that we're going to need to do on our properties, and it would be generous and fair and equitable if you would also create an opportunity for residents to have the time to do these things without code compliance giving them citations for violations of our code. Thank you. Please consider this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hilarison Petit Frere. I reside in 495 Northeast 141st Street. And it's just a suggestion. As most progressive cities I've seen have actually moved on to underground electric wires, I was wondering that if the council or the mayor would take a suggestion that's actually looking into putting our electricity wires underground rather than on top. I lived in North Miami for 25 years, and I have to say this hurricane was probably one of the worst I've ever seen. And driving down 6th Avenue was completely darkness. And I saw like a lot of power lines that was knocked down. And even I was affected on 144th Street. My power was down for 2 weeks. And I had no power, no electricity, nothing pretty much to manage. And even when they actually came and fixed the transponder, it blew up after 2 days. And I was back again with no electricity. So I was just wondering, as a suggestion, have you guys actually thought about underground electrical wires instead of on the poles?
Once again, this is Juancito Frencius, 650 Northeast 145th Street. I'm going to repeat exactly what the gentleman just said. I believe this is the 21st century. We need to think smart. I believe Irma just revealed that we need some smart people in order to lead this country. I suggest that we put the wire under the ground that would protect the citizen after people spend more than 2 weeks or more than 9 days without electricity. I believe if we had a situation like that, the city would be different with Irma. Thank you.
Judy Brown, 1100 Northwest 128 Terrace. This was a dress rehearsal for Miami-Dade. This is just a Cat 1. There were some things that was done excellent, and there were some things that we certainly need to do some Monday morning quarterback on. Communication is one of the problems, and the other gentleman spoke about it. I don't know if this is part of the management, that had thought this well, actually what worked the logistics out with this. But all the social media, the cell phones was just practically out. And most of the notification that I received from my council person was like 30 minutes before the event was supposed to take place, whether it was giving out ice or food or, water or what have you. That was sort of like if we had a plan, I had been told in advance that these would be specific location. If in the event that we had to have these things dispensed, well then this is where you would go. That would have made things much better. And the other thing is the elderly. We really need to work on that. We need to identify all of the elderly in the city so that in the event that we have a serious Cat 5 or a whatever, Cat 1 or 2, these people will be included in these given. The elderly cannot carry water. A lot of them don't have transportation. These people are being underserved by us, and we really need to do better with our planning. And I was very pleased with the removal, although, and I would like to say that I was very much pleased. I had 8 people to come to my house because I did have a tree to fall on my house from the city property. And it was really remarkable. They came out, the concern was there, and I appreciate that. But we need to do better with our trees
I
and
know your
tree
time is
trimming.
up, but I'm not gonna let you go without stating the names of those 8 people.
Okay. We had the
Mayor, there you go. That's it, 8 people. Now you may be seated. We had Councilman Desulme there too, the manager, chief of police, code enforcement director, and parks director, huh? And building was there. So we went there. We said we were going to show up, and we showed up.
You showed up and showed up.
Yeah, Clarence Mert, 905 Northwest 133rd Street. This is something that's been troubling me, and I've been here over 25 years. The alleyways, they are the responsibility of the homeowner, okay? This man down there, they got these trees, all of them put these trees in the property line. The tree fall on the power. FPL can't get to it. Now they still got the stuff behind their house and still pulling it out the front so the people could get in there. I go in my property from the alleyway. And the city came down there one time. What you need to do, you cite them, and if they don't do it, the city do it and charge them. And that'll break them up and make them start cleaning the alleyway. It's too much foolishness goes on here. These residents must be responsible.
See, I'm not the only one telling you, Mr. Manager.
Good evening again.
Oh.
As a citizen and resident in the city of North Miami, I would like to know when
It's only
we're
one
gonna
time. Only one time.
I forgot to ask a question. I would like to know when we're gonna hire a chief of police for the city of North Miami. I
All right.
believe it's not only me.
Okay.
Howard Tonkin, 12600 Griffin Boulevard. I learned a lot about storm surge during the storm, having a front row seat for that. And as we talk about complaining about all our problems about trash and so on, I think how fortunate we are that we're not in Puerto Rico right now. And on the Friday night, when the forecast was for a direct hit of a Category 5, and we were looking at a 10 to 12 foot storm surge in our city, I really wish I'd said more often, as I have done over the years, about what are we doing as a city about the floodgates. Because if we'd had a 12-foot storm surge, it would have been, I had my kayaks in the living room, but there would have been tens of thousands of people in this city that would be doing a lot more than complaining about the garbage right now. So this issue is an issue that needs to be boldly taken on by the City of Miami Shores, the Village of Biscayne Park, and the City of North Miami, because it's one of two stories. Either we're going to become like the Keys and hundreds of thousands of people are going to lose their homes, then they need to be told to relocate, or we take on this issue. But we are one direct hit from anything above a Category 2 that will change the landscape of Miami permanently. We must take on this issue of the floodgates and get pumps installed because we're just as valuable as the people in Miami Beach. Thank you.
William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I agree completely with Mr. Howard Tonkin. I do want to extend my sincere thanks to our management team, to our police department, to our public works, and to the Parks Department for getting the city back on its feet as soon as possible. I don't know if you have it or if the camera can see it, but I have a screenshot from Thursday morning at 8:50 a.m. on Thursday morning, when the storm was tracking days on end in a very narrow range. The screenshot shows a blue line, which is the center of the cone, the exact geometric center of the predicted cone. It goes through North Bay Shore Park, it crosses over 123rd, It goes 200 feet from your house, Carol. Goes over Keystone Boulevard at the canal and cuts diagonally across Keystone Boulevard. Now, Carol shouldn't feel so bad or so vulnerable because it would have wiped out everyone, everywhere, all the infrastructure. It's not a 100-foot wide storm. This is many miles wide that would have wiped out from the beach and well past 95 with horrific, horrific density. And I am so lucky, so thankful myself. I'd be glad to pick up these trees and the sand and all the rest of that stuff from here to Kingdom Come. That'd be no problem if we could get a guarantee that we're not going to have a 4 or 5 category hitting us directly. But we don't have that guarantee. And as I thought about, wow, how did my 1964 building survive? How did major trees, decades-old trees, go down without breaking a single piece of glass, that we were just in that sweet spot? Trees dead all over the place. And storm surge that went up and around the building. How did that happen? And the thing is, just a few more degrees, miles an hour, if it had gone up, we would have been wiped out.
I'm sorry,
all of our
Mr.
single-family
Prevotel,
homes
I stopped
on the south,
everybody else at
and
2
all of
minutes,
our
so
glass.
can you just make the point?
And my point is,
Yeah,
we would have had 50 to 60,000 homeless refugee-type people, people in absolute dire circumstances.
So
we
is
have
our
no means of preparing
EOC
for
is
them.
taking notes so that we can be better prepared, and that's much more reason why we need to talk about our infrastructures.
Exactly,
Okay,
because
our infrastructure. So that's, we've been talking about that.
I'll address it in future, but we are old and antiquated, we are completely unprepared, and we are doing no one here in the city a service by perpetuating this. Please look at the video, you may find it entertaining.
We need to talk about our infrastructures, Mr. Manager, in the weeks to come.
Good evening, Kevin Burns, 2065 Alameda Drive. The city should consider waiving the building fees for fences that were torn down, driveways that were torn up. It's something you could do. The fences didn't come down on their own. It was a hurricane. I think the management, along with the council members, ought to look about waiving some of those fees, expediting the replacement of the fences so people can secure their properties, and make a list of the top 10 permits that are being pulled by homeowners that does not include electrical stuff, unless it was the thing that bends over that the power pole hooks up to. They sometimes have waived that fee. It's something you guys ought to do, of waiving those fees. One of the other things is, as somebody stated, this is just a curtain call, folks. If you were here for Katrina and Wilma that we went through, we had thousands of power poles that were busted in this community. We were out of electricity for 16 and 20 days. So if somebody starts complaining that they still have some tree debris on the side of the road, but they're sitting in their air-conditioned house now, remind them what it was when we didn't have the response. This wasn't a storm. This was just a small storm. When we get a 2 or a 3, prepare that it's going to be a lot longer than what it is. If it takes an extra 2-3 weeks to pick up some limbs because we're doing it the right way and following the FEMA reimbursement, that's good, sound management. One of the other things, I got a conflicting response just now, or understanding that we're going to cite people if their trees are in the alleyway and get them to come clear that alley so FP&L can go do their things. Yet, city swale trees that fell on people's properties, we're taking our time, we're just giving them a notice tomorrow, 12 days after the storm, going to their, we're going to help you maybe with your tree, we're going to cut it off to the public property line. One of the first things you got to do is get the city tree off of private property and help them out right away.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Citizens Forum is now closed. I see no one coming. Any reports?
Yes, sir. Just to restate some of the things, when the manager and I think the team from the EOC came and met with me, the first thing I mentioned to them was not only we did a wonderful job in preparing for the storm, and doing the storm was phenomenal, because I was here at City Hall. It was just phenomenal. However, after the storm, I felt that there were some things that we could improve on, Ms. Brown. And as a teacher, I think you and I, we mentioned the same thing, and I haven't talked to you about this, communication, and I mentioned to the manager, communication was key. But we also need to educate some folks who came here and talked about First of all, the city is not responsible for shelter. That's the county. So let me say that again. The city is not responsible for providing shelter. And District 4 was very well, as their representative, very well represented. Thank you very much. However, we are not in a flood zone, so you didn't have to evacuate because you are west of 95. That's another thing we need to educate the folks about, because there's a lot of people that need education on that. If you are east of 6th Avenue, there's a possibility you are in a flood zone. So those shelters are meant for you. If you are west of 6th Avenue, mainly if you're in District 4, you didn't need to evacuate. And we did have several different plans, Mr. Mayor, as you know, with the seniors who are in the senior program, Councilman Benjamin and I, and several, I know Councilwoman Keys and Carol Suka, that was out there giving ice and food. We did not have the support. I think the planning of this is a dress rehearsal, like we said. We didn't have ice. We didn't have water. And we must give credit where it's due. Thank you to Commissioner Sally Hayman, out of everyone who called us last minute. The reason that you got something 30 minutes prior to is because the manager called me an hour before saying, Sally said there's gonna be some ice at Opelika Airport in 1 hour. We gotta get there and get it. And how do we get the folks? We had to do the best we can to do that. And we did address that. How we gonna address that in the future? We might have to maybe order some ice because there was no ice to be found. The county had secured some ice and some water, and if it wasn't for Commissioner Sally Hayman, we would not have any ice and water. So it is a work in progress, and I do ask folks to do give the manager, myself, any of the council people recommendations, but we know communication is a problem. We have a large Creole and Hispanic speaking stuff. I know we're putting things out on the social media and all, and they don't have no electricity. They're not listening to the Haitian radio. So it's basically a door-to-door knocking. And unless you are willing to help me do that and do in the other city, I think you really need to kind of be quiet as far as to the outreach effort. But the city did a phenomenal job, and we will take recommendation on how to improve on communication with the residents moving forward. And anyone who has anything to say otherwise, please see myself or the manager or any of the council people. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, my report to follow up on Councilman Alex, we have to thank Commissioner Barbara Jordan, who provides some food, drink, and waters. Some city vendors who just called us and said we have 2-3 pallets of ice coming in. That's mean it's not something that we had planned or we had before. It's people calling us and make those items available. And also we have to thank Bishop Kerry, who called us on Sunday and tell us we have some pallet of ice. And that's been, it's not something that the city spent money on. It was donated by different group of people. And I want to thank the EOC from the city of North Miami for doing a phenomenal job before, during, and after the hurricane. There is room for improvements. We always can revisit those improvements, but at the end of the day, I got to thank the EOC from the city of North Miami. I have to thank Chief Larry Juriga and the police department, who went beyond the job to help people, and all the departments. The city of North Miami, thank you. And the city manager, in your report, I hope that you can explain the residents of North Miami how many other cities we were able to help. That's when it's not just helping North Miami. We were able to help some other big cities. Thank you very much. That's conclude my report.
Thank you.
Just a couple recaps on the hurricane. We have all met with management to talk about post-hurricane, what we're going to do better. Appreciate the comments from staff. A lot of people did have a problem with communication. If you didn't have electricity, you couldn't recharge your batteries. Tuesday morning, cell phones went down. There's radio stations were down. We're talking about how we can actually get over the airwaves. I don't know if texting didn't even work. Talking maybe buying airtime, shortwave, but some type of communication that we will know in advance, that will be on our website, and we will be able to tell people, in emergency, your phones, your electric goes down. This is where you will be able to find some information, even buying time on a TV station. I think the only TV station that we were getting with rabbit ears was Channel 6. So maybe having time there, like I said, 20 minutes on the hour. But we're working on these things to improve our communication. After, I never in my life thought the phones and cell phones were going to go down. We even had walkie-talkies amongst ourselves, which didn't quite work as well as we would like. Going for, I was really comfortable. Well, I got the walkie-talkie to the manager and police. It didn't work. I had to drive to the city to find out why I couldn't get through. But the other thing I'm working on, I know our city's working on it, the county has it, but this is something I want to do, is get a registry for the seniors and the disabled and anybody who needs to be contacted. So even though the county does this with evacuation, I want our city to be able to contact and make sure those people who need the assistance know that this is going on, they've been communicated with, do they need to move, do they need special assistance. Then after the storm, our police department and emergency operations can contact these people, make sure they're okay, make sure they've got the well, they won't have electricity, but make sure they're not in there suffocating in their boarded up apartments, make sure they've got their water, their medicines, their refrigeration. I know my secretary's father had to throw away all his insulin. So I want a registry. We've reached out to some the Senior Citizens Foundation, St. Law, anybody else who has a list of people who need to be contacted. I really want to work on a citizens registry, so anybody who's got names, something very important that I would like to do towards the city going forward. On two other notes real quickly, for all my Jewish constituents and everybody else, a very healthy, happy, and sweet New Year, Lashana Tova. We didn't get to do that. We missed the last meeting. It is a Jewish New Year, so wishing everybody that. And we didn't have community events, and we will not have another meeting before La Grande Fiesta comes up Saturday, October 7th. Did we? October 3rd? Regular meeting?
That's a
But that's a budget hearing. Okay, we have a budget hearing. But anyway, plan October 7th, La Grande Fiesta. It is a fabulous party to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, celebrating the Latino community. We had a really terrific White Tropic Nights party scheduled at Mocha during the pre-hurricane, so we had to cancel that, and a lot of our events were canceled. So I hope everybody please come out to the La Grande Fiesta on Saturday night. It's a great party.
Will you be dancing?
We will be dancing.
You?
We'll have all kinds of music, dancing.
Will you?
I will be dancing, yes, I will be dancing.
Salsa.
Yes, salsa, whatever it takes.
Okay.
No, salsa, merengue, bachachi, okay. Thank you.
All right. No report. Pretty much everything has been said, and we accept that maybe we have to have a backup. Back in the days where they used to use, horses to travel with the flyer, and then were you on a horseback? That's it. I think we did. Yeah, I think we did well. Like I said, everybody was out there, and we were sweating, in the heat and everything. So again, it's like cooking, in the kitchen. I mean, a few drops will fall on the floor, but that doesn't mean you didn't prepare a good meal. Okay, at the end of the day. And Thursday morning at 10 o'clock, in celebration of the Hispanic Heritage Month, we will be honoring Miami-Dade County Commissioner Xavier Suarez at 10 a.m. Everybody's invited. He's done a lot in this community, not just down south, but this is a guy who's been very instrumental to many immigrants, not just the Latinos, but the Caribbeans as well. He has advocated in favor of all of us, and I believe it's a good thing to do to honor him in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month in the city of North Miami.
Thursday 10?
Thursday at 10 a.m.
This Thursday.
Yeah, this Thursday.
I move to adjourn, Mr.
No, let me see.
So, Mayor,
And any other report given the rest of the night cannot mention Hurricane Irma.
I do have some board appointments, but I'm gonna go ahead and I have 2-3 comments. First, I wanted to, before the hurricane, there was a couple of break-in incidents at our condo. There was a Sergeant Kios from the North Miami Police Department. Kiros. Folks, when I tell you it doesn't get better than her, she came down here. She took care of our condominium. We have a lot of older Jewish, white Americans, Hispanics, Haitians. We have a multi-diverse building. And people were hysteric when they found out that sophisticated car thieves were getting into updated vehicles and removing their airbags. The reporting officer was on shaky ground, so I got there, it was a problem. When this sergeant showed up, I'm talking about she completely diffused the situation. She knew how to communicate with everyone from every racial spectrum, every background. She took control of the situation. She even had situational awareness. And I wanted to publicly acknowledge her. Chief Doriga, Cuevas, Bates, what you guys are doing with these officers are stellar. But this woman here needs to be commended for the work she's done. And I wanted to publicly acknowledge her. The second person I wanted to publicly acknowledge was the mayor. Folks, people don't realize this, but it's been understated. The man really did help save lives. And I've heard this when I was in Atlanta, try to put up a fence at the Atlanta property. I was here too. So the mayor, when I got back, I was told that it was a nursing home that ran out of electricity. Well, they ran out of, something happened to their generator. There was no electricity. Apparently, someone who happened to know the mayor because of his clinic calls from this nursing home. It was just one of those things where, okay, I know the mayor, let me give him a call. That call saved elderly lives because what the mayor did, the mayor immediately got on the horn with the officials here in North Miami and said, look, we got to do something for these people at the nursing home. It had nothing to do with elections. He didn't go on Facebook or MySpace or whatever the hell people use these days to publicize it. But the mayor took initiative with the North Miami Police Department and with the officials here and got that generator fixed.
With the chief of police and Officer McNally.
Mayor, I'm telling the story here.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. But this is a big deal, folks. The man took the initiative, he used the resources at his disposal, and he saved lives. And that's being understated here. That is a big deal. And I heard about it, and I wanted to publicly commend the mayor for what he did and how he used his resources, not to benefit himself, not to enrich himself, not to gain political points. The man did it to save lives, and he did. And again, about 9 people died in Hollywood because of the similar situations. So the mayor needs to be acknowledged for it. And last but not least, I want to acknowledge Councilman Desume, former Mayor Burns, and Juancito for the statements they just made. I think Waste Pro is a great company, folks. I was around in 1995 when Andrews hit. I was a kid. I remember one day there were trees everywhere. The following day, you had North Miami dump trucks cleaning up the streets during Andrew. And that was supposedly a stronger hurricane than this. We got the outer bands of a hurricane. What the mayor, what Alex just said, what Burns just said, what Juancito just said, we need to make whatever sacrifices to bring the sanitation back in the house. It's not that Waste Pro isn't good. Rivera's great. The vice president's great. Folks, that's a big deal. We're going to always be bent over a barrel if we let private enterprises determine how well our city will or won't respond. So when you have Alex, the council member up here, making a bold statement saying, if we got to cut across the board departments so that we can come up with the funds to get this done, this is a life and death matter. Do you want to live in a city where your sanitation depends on whether or not a private company can get to you on time? Or do you want, like the mayor said, or like I think Key said, she can call the city manager and say, okay, Mr. Manager, let's get our sanitation department to go clean up 135th Street. No third party needs to be involved. So I commend you guys for being bold, for making these statements. Again, Waste Pro is a great company, but we can do better, and we will do better if we take it in-house. Now that I said what I wanted to say, let me go to y'all appointments.
Do you own a property in North Miami?
Do I?
Yeah.
I know you don't want to
No,
have this discussion with me.
No, I just
Because
answer me.
not
Just
only that
answer
I,
me.
not only that
I
I
will
do,
tell you something
let me
else.
be clear. I don't even have a mortgage in my condo in the city of North Miami.
Okay.
I'm going to retire here.
Let's go with
I'm
the
going to live
appointments.
here. This is my home for life.
But you didn't just answer a question.
Let me just go to the
No,
board
to the
You didn't know what I
appointments.
was gonna say.
No, I don't want to fight with you on this. On this.
We're not fighting. As long as my
Guys, let's
property
conclude
taxes
this.
doesn't go up.
Okay, go ahead.
The property
That's what I was
taxes
gonna
won't
say.
go up. Okay, if we have to cut, like what Alex said and Kevin said and Juancito said, if you tell all the departments, okay, if it's going to take $20 million, let's do a 10% cut across the board.
Why
Let's
10%?
sacrifice for 1 year.
10% of what?
Appointments,
Of 40 million give you
appointments.
what?
Okay, the mayor said
We're talking about
appointments.
numbers.
Appointments.
$20 million. It's not.
So
it's
we
not
know
deductible.
Councilman
Why can't
Bieneme
you
is
say
not
something?
pro bringing back sanitation in house, but everyone else is.
You want to create a
Appointments.
big government.
All right,
That's
so
all.
so
Appointments.
so we have an appointment. These are the appointments. I'm going to basically state all the appointments. Mayor Joseph made an appointment last council meeting to the personnel board, and that was Patrick Prophet. It appears that after vetting, this individual does not live here in the city, so the mayor would like to appoint Ricard Prophet to be his personnel appointment to that board. Mayor Bieneme would also, Mayor Joseph would also like to appoint Kenneth Each to the Planning Commission Board. Councilwoman Keeds would like to appoint William Simpson Jr. to the Disaster Preparedness Board. And Councilman Desmay would like to appoint at-large personnel, Mary Irvin Estimate
at-large?
to the Personnel Board.
Get at large. That's what he.
That's what it has here. That's the appointment he made. That's correct?
See at large.
So do I have a motion to appoint those
A quick
appointments?
question. You have at large on the personnel board. How
Yeah.
many members? You say at large.
Well,
Only the mayor can appoint, I think, 2 members, something like that.
Well, the city attorney
No.
is in a better position to answer that, but anyone can make an at-large appointment.
One
if I'm not
appointment. You say
mistaken.
at large.
All right, so
We
that
have to
was
look
his-
at the constitution
Yeah,
at the
gotta be
bylaws.
one appointment.
All right, so
Not
he
at
made
large.
he made the appointment.
Okay.
So do I have a motion to approve the appointments?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Galvin to approve the appointments that was just stated on the record. That motion was seconded by Councilman Bieneme. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. That completes my report.
Mr. Attorney,
Awesome report, Mike.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Manager, no report.
No report. Move to adjourn.
Second. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.
If you have a property.
I don't like.
That's the vision is that we know who's going to pay. Where? Why you get this?
No, it's not big government. It's building. It's efficient government. How do you do big government? Good job. It's not those guys. So now, Larry, I'm going to see between him and I. Hey, yeah, that's what it is. So he talking about, no, that's your taxes. But that's you. No, everybody trying to make